There are two games that blend breathtaking graphics, an amazing soundtrack, and subtextual storytelling to explore themes of living in a world already on its way out, forgiveness and redemption. The second game in particular becoming a masterclass in how to make a game with every detail gleaming with care and attention to detail. What? No, this isn't about the Red Dead Redemption games. I'm talking about Spirit of the North games. There is a term that is part philosophy and part literature criticism that I need to define real quickly. People sometimes use the word sublime for things they find exceedingly good. That's not really wrong per se, but it's also missing a key part. The idea of the sublime is that something can be better than the sum of its pieces. Think of something you love and might even feel a little embarrassed to admit it. Maybe it's a particular food or a low-rated movie. You can't explain why you love it, but something about it is special because of your particular experience with it. That is what sublime would be. You like that particular dish because you had it on your first date. You like that particular movie because it was the last one you saw with someone you particularly care about. Sublimity is about your experience, not the thing itself. So when I say that Spirit of the North is sublime, what I mean is it offers enough quality that your experience could be sublime. The plot of the first game is pretty straightforward, but it still has a lot of subtextual richness. You play as a fox and you quickly meet a spirit fox. At first the spirit fox is dismissive of you, but as you start to follow it around and actually keep up, it seems to start accepting you. When you break your leg, the spirit fox actually heals you and becomes a wisp that follows you around to help. Helping with what exactly isn't clear at first, but you start coming across skeletons and bringing staffs to fallen shamans, and you start to learn that you are cleansing some kind of evil magical force from around the world. Whatever this force is, it has been infesting buildings with deadly fungi and has killed, well, everyone. The world is post-apocalyptic, or rather post-post-apocalyptic. Your mission is not to save people. The people are already gone. Instead, your mission seems to be bringing dignity back and letting everyone rest in peace. The murals you pass throughout the game fill in the backstory. There was once a fox guardian who lived at the top of the mountain. However, the red corrupting force had taken hold of the people, and the fox guardian finally left. The suffering had been great, and eventually everyone had succumbed to it. You continue cleansing the world as you go, and it's clear that you're going towards that very same mountain. As you go farther into the corrupted areas, you eventually come to a place where the spirit fox's wisp gets corrupted as well, and tries to leave you behind. But you prevail. You go deeper and deeper, unwilling to give up on it. You become slower as the red spores do their damage. Eventually you finally collapse and die. You enter the spirit world, and having traveled through the forest, you meet all the shamans you cleansed. They are preying around the corrupted fox, and you finally cleanse it as well. Together, you run above the trees and re-enter the mortal world. Now that you have your body back, you and the other fox go to the top of the mountain and take the place of the old guardian, where the two spirit forms can play and chase each other around in the sky. As I said, the plot is quite simple, but it doesn't have to be anything more complex. It's authentic and personal. There's a sense of reverence in how the game is intended to be played. It's about dignity and redemption, loyalty and relationship. Oh, yeah, and all of that is told in total silence. There is no dialogue, there is no reading. Those themes are completely conveyed through scenery and action. Silent storytelling isn't anything new, but it is done remarkably well here. But for as good as this game is, the second game blows it out of the water. I liked the original Spirit of the North. It was simple and you could play it in an afternoon. It reminds me a lot of the first Portal game. Spirit of the North 2 is utterly fantastic. If the first game is Portal, then the second is Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, I wasn't joking that much in the intro. I put Spirit of the North 2 in the same conversation as Red Dead Redemption 2 in regards to storytelling, world building, and attention to detail. Fight me. It's an open world just dripping with love and care, and there are tons of things for you to do and collect. It even has character customization where you can change what your fox looks like, including a tail fluffiness slider. The only acceptable position for that one is maximum, by the way. The storytelling is also upgraded significantly for the second game. There is still no dialogue, but there is the addition of so-called lore scrolls. Basically, various characters in the distant past had kept journals of their experiences, and fragments of them are scattered around the map. Some of them are just contextual and atmospheric, like one that is simply praising another tribe's craftsmanship. Others are accounts of the Guardians, some about Grimnir's war, and even some by Grimnir himself. Oh yeah, Grimnir, I'll talk about him in a bit. Even with the lore scrolls, a majority of the story is still told by the setting. You'll come across ruins of some kind and be able to figure out pretty quickly what happened. The walls of Ram Tribe is littered with corpses and soldiers and arrows from when Grimnir and Bear Tribe invaded. There's a staircase that is all beat up and covered in feathers from the Raven Guardian Memories rampage after being corrupted. Everything on the map is indicative of just how fast and overwhelming the end came. Speaking of the corruption, it is very much the same as the first games. It's just now the second game gives us the full story, and it centers around Grimnir. Understanding Grimnir is the key to understanding the main part of the story. I'll talk about a few scrolls to explain him. First, there's an epitaph for someone named Grimmel, buried between the Wolf Tribe and the Bear Tribe border. It's short, but it speaks of contempt towards him. It says he was unblessed by the Bear Guardians and had a relationship with a woman from the Wolf Tribe. It also implies that he was a drunkard and rejected by all. Finally, it ends with saying that he is the father of Grimnir. Grimnir's own series of lore scrolls starts with him immediately identifying himself as Grimnir the Fatherless, so he too rejected Grimmel. Also, it implies that becoming super powerful with evil magic and ending the world is in fact fatherless behavior. He talks about living in the very cavern you find it in next to his mother's grave. The scroll is lonely in its tone, with the location itself being further evidence of that, as it is in the Wolf Tribe territory but close to the Bear Tribe border. Between this scroll and Grimmel's epitaph, it would be easy to assume that the family is living in exile. Whether it is for being mixed tribe or just because of Grimmel is anyone's guess. Anyway, Grimnir's early scrolls show that he wasn't always bad, but he did have a desire to prove himself. He went on a journey to seek the blessings from every single one of the Guardians. At some point in his journey, he ends up at a location called the Forbidden Crypt. There's loads of the red corruption at this location, and it is unclear if Grimnir's actions brought it here, or if the crypt had already been storing it all along. Regardless, Grimnir would find access to another realm from here, which he could only access through spiritual means. He assumed he would be accepted into the Council of Elders upon his return. However, he would return to the Forbidden Crypt an unknown number of times. All we know is that there is a second scroll in this location written later. It explains that Grimnir had told the Council of Elders that the other realm existed, but they didn't believe him. He now claims that this other realm as his birthright, and it is clear he has growing disdain for the Council if they didn't let him become one of them. From here, his scrolls account of the war itself. He went tribe to tribe, corrupting the Guardians as he went. After the Raven Tribe's fall, Grimnir attempted to invade the Fox Tribe to complete his conquest. It did not go to plan. Crucially, the Fox Guardian recognized that it was the last one, and that all of the others had fallen to the corruption. Plus, each time a Guardian was corrupted, their region was completely overrun with the red corruption, and the Guardian was stuck in torment as the tribe died. So the Fox left. Remember when I was talking about the first game and how the Fox went missing before the civilization fell? Well, here is the canon answer. To some extent, the Fox's plans seem to have worked. Without the opportunity to corrupt the Fox, Grimnir's army was halted and executed. His staff was then set aside so that the Fox could safely take it when it returned. When the game starts, the Fox Island is the only place that isn't corrupted. It's abandoned and ruined, but compared to the other locations, it's clear that the Fox being absent definitely mitigated what could have happened if it was present and then corrupted. While the war was over, the effects were too much. The Fox was gone, and the other Guardians were all corrupted and dangerous, and the red corruption was killing everyone else. A group called the North Guard supposedly survived long enough to sail away in evacuation, but everyone else eventually died, with the scrolls of the survivors being the most mournful. But wait, that's not the end. All of that is ancient history by the time the game starts. As a few of the scrolls point out, some of the writers had visions of the fox returning to cleanse the guardians and safely guard Grimnir's staff, and that this would happen after the foxes bring the aurora back to the sky from the mountain. Well, that is exactly what the ending of the first game is, and the opening cutscene of the second game is Thought the Raven, seeing the two spirit foxes in the sky with the aurora, and sending a third fox that now had a glowing tail to the Fox Island. The first task you do is retrieve Grimnir's staff to take to the Fox Guardian statue, and then you accidentally fall in a hole and resurrect Grimnir himself, who immediately summons the bear and burns everything down. So instead, you escape and wash up on shore at Misthaven, and spend most of the game now going through the abandoned tribal lands to cleanse the Guardians and break more pottery than Link. But here's where the game makes a very smart move. As you progress in the game, you are going the opposite direction that Grimnir did when he went on his conquest. The two timelines are inverse. You learn about Grimnir backwards. The first scrolls you find are from late in the conquest, when he's described as ending the age of humanity and has a trail of destruction behind him. However, at the end of the game, you're reading scrolls that show he, too, is corrupted. Just like the Guardians, he is not in full control of himself. The genius of this move is that it makes the ending actually acceptable. This is a guy who essentially ended the world, and then at the start of the game tries to kill you, and even burns down the very peaceful and lovely Fox Island. I wanted to throw hands, or paws, I guess. Or a stratagem. I'd like to see him survive a right down, up, right down. Anyway, throughout the game, when you defeat the Guardians as boss battles, you cleanse them from their corruption, but not kill them. And when you defeat Grimnir, it's the same thing. He feels remorse for his actions and lets you cleanse him. He surrenders his staff to you, and he can finally rest in peace without being corrupted anymore. I would not have found a forgiveness ending satisfying if I didn't know from the late game scrolls that he too was suffering from the corruption, and that everything that happened was because the corruption had twisted his own internal wounds. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is a story of redemption. There is another thing the plot is up to in the background. Imagine this. You start playing a new adventure RPG, and in the opening, you learn there's a warmonger shaman named Grimnir who has started a campaign to take over the world. Your role as the hero is to explore the world, battling the corrupted guardians as you go, as he continues his conquest. Eventually, you finally face Grimnir in battle at the end, where you finally kill him. For most people, that game probably sounds more exciting. Its gameplay would probably be more similar to something like Skyrim. But now imagine that story, except the hero never came. The powerful evil wizard kept getting stronger and kept taking more land. More people kept dying, and nature itself was starting to choke out from the growing corruption spores. And yet, there was never some powerful warrior who could stop him. There was no magical items or weapons to wield against him. And by the time the NPCs managed to stop him, it was already too late. Maybe the gameplay of a fox forgiving and healing his enemies as he goes isn't as exciting as brutal fights to the death, but I would say the story stays with me longer. The first Spirit of the North game is really good. It's fun, and the graphics are beautiful, and the soundtrack is impressive. The implied backstory was good, but too simple to really involve a lot of thought after you beat the game. The second Spirit of the North game is sublime when you consider all factors. The story isn't necessarily complicated, but it is detailed and told from numerous perspectives. I've thought about the stories and the various scrolls I found even after I finished the game. Then you add the fact that the graphics are drop-dead gorgeous and the soundtrack is nothing short of phenomenal, and you start to really understand that this game is something special. Indie titles don't usually give you a game this big. Open worlds far more expensive than this one might be bigger, but few have more to do per inch than this game. This is a writing channel, I don't make game reviews, but I felt it was necessary for me to underscore how good these games are when I look at how underrated they are. I never really see people talking about it, playing it, or even memeing it. Maybe other games have more replayability, but these are at least worth a go. I promise the authenticity will stay with you. And with that, keep writing.